So the next step is to form the pleats on the front of the mask. So you need to mark at 2-inch intervals along the sides. So there'll be 3 pleats on the large size mask. I'm just going to turn it round so I can look at it from this direction. So the marks you make mark the inside of the pleats. So the first one, just fold it where the marks are and just finger press it. And then about 1/2 inch below that top edge, fold it back. Just do it by eye. It doesn't really matter if it's not exactly 1/2 inch, but just try to make sure that your edges stay in line. So once you've done that, just try and hold it. Put a pin in the middle perhaps. And then one at each side. Okay, oops, I've just pinned my finger, ow. And repeat at your other 2 marks. So fold it down where the chalk marks were, and then about 1/2 inch below, fold it back. Pin in the middle. At each side. And you should more or less have them not quite touching, but near enough touching at the side. And the last one. Okay, so you should have your fabric looking like that. I'm just looking at that, and this side seems to be a little bit longer than the other, so I might just adjust slightly. But don't worry too much, because it really doesn't matter that much. That looks a bit better. So we're getting ready to sew our pleats in place. I'm just going to show you my machine. I don't know if you can see that, but it's difficult to sew through so many layers of fabric if they're thick. If you use quite thin material, it shouldn't be too much of a problem, but if your machine has a setting at which you can change the length of your stitch, you'll find it much easier. So at this, what I've done all the previous seams on, it has a stitch length of 2.6. I'm going to turn that up to about 4. Oh, I've gone too far. Which gives you longer stitches, and it makes the fabric feed through much more easily. So I've put the piece into the machine, lowered the needle about 1/4 inch in from the top edge. I'm going to back stitch back up near the top edge and then carry on, and I've moved the pins, the heads of the pins out of the way so that they won't get caught up in the foot. So back stitching to almost the top edge. Just going a wee bit more. And then be careful when you're coming down. If you hold the fabric too tight, you might loosen up some of these pleats. So try not to sort of pull or push the fabric too much as you sew. And just come down until you're almost at the bottom where the pouch layer joins. And I'm going to do a little locking stitch at this point because my machine has the setting, but you could back stitch. And that's it, just take it out of the machine and then repeat on the other side. So that's the completed pleated front with a seam along each side. You can remove those pins and then turn it over to make the pleats for the pouch.